This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
On April 9, 1908, Newton C. Woods stopped in New Orleans on his way to Texas from his home in Alabama. From Union Station on South Rampart Street, he made his way to Storyville. He went to a brothel where he drank a few beers and had sex with one or several women. Afterward, with his pants hanging on a chair near the bed, he fell asleep. When he woke up a little later, he got dressed and walked back to the train station. There he discovered that his wallet, containing $70 and his train ticket, was missing. Unable to board the train and desirous of justice, he wandered around until the next morning, when he found a police officer and brought him to the house to arrest the 3 women who lived there. 2 days later there was a trial. The prostitute's defense attorney asked Woods what he was doing at the brothel. He replied, "Frolicking around." The attorney continued, "You were having fun? You were frolicking around with these Negro women?" For Woods was white and the women were black. Woods replied, "Yes, sir, I suppose so." Storyville enjoyed considerable notoriety by 1908. 10 years into its official existence, the district was well established. It boasted some of the best real estate in the city, its more or less central location made even more so by the completion of the train station at Canal and Basin in the spring of that year, right around the time of Woods's visit. Basin Street was the entryway to the district, and the district's most infamous and spectacular bordellos were there. Lulu White's Mahogany Hall was on Basin Street, between Bienville and Custom House. Josie Arlington's was a few doors down, and Emma Johnson's House of All Nations was in the center of the block. Willie V. Piazza, also known as the Countess, lived on the next block, between Bienville and Conti. At the corner of Basin and Custom House stood Thomas C. Tom Anderson's Saloon, the eponymous Mecca for Sports, according to one of the famous Blue Books, the widely available guidebooks to the district. At Anderson's Saloon, bands played, men drank, and private rooms upstairs served for assignations. Men flocked to Storyville to hear music, to drink, to gamble, and to have sex with prostitutes. For Woods and other unlucky fellows, the consequences of a stop in Storyville could be the loss of their money. It was a risk many men were more than willing to take. Storyville, created by ordinance in 1897 and opened for business in 1898, quickly became the nation's most notorious red light district. It was famous well beyond New Orleans for its transgressive sex, its jazz music, and its myriad other entertainments, including sex circuses and naked dances, as well as concert saloons, gambling halls, bar rooms, and barrel houses. Basin Street Blues. Won't you come along with me to the Mississippi? We'll take the boat to the land of dreams, steam down the river down to New Orleans. Jazz was born in the late 19th century, and when people say that jazz was born in a brothel, they mean it was born in Storyville. Jazz did not have a single genesis, but rather a series of contemporaneous starts and a long evolution. Few dispute its origins in New Orleans. New Orleans, writes the jazz historian Bruce Rayburn, was a city where music was intrinsic to lifestyle. 19th century New Orleans was a cultural crossroads, where European, Caribbean, and American musical forms met and melded. Jazz was forged in the crucible of the city's multicultural furnace. New Orleans also traditionally played host to multiple and diverse festivals, parties, and parades, all of which demanded music. Rayburn writes, "By the early 20th century, this musical melange fed a seemingly interminable calendar of festivities. From Mardi Gras balls to riverboat excursions, funerals, fish fries, and many more. The crazy quilt pattern of residential life in New Orleans also fed the development of a new vernacular music, as white ethnics, African Americans, and Creoles of color lived in close proximity to one another throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries. Whatever particular musical styles these groups brought or adapted from their places of origin, including New Orleans itself, inevitably cross-fertilized with different traditions residing in the same neighborhoods. Storyville, with its bordellos, cabarets, honky-tonks, restaurants, and bars, welcomed and nurtured jazz, provided it an ideal gestational milieu, and stamped it indelibly with prostitution and the sporting life. Sporting life denotes the male world of drinking, gambling, and patronizing houses of prostitution.